Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to do a deep dive into something that's pretty complex.
Yeah.
It's Ukrainian President Zelensky's White House visit. And the whole thing has caused quite a stir, with President Trump.
Absolutely.
The stalled minerals deal, and then that kind of tense interview with Bret Baier on Fox News.
A lot to unpack there.
Yeah, we've got a whole stack of sources to get through.
Right.
So we've got Jennifer Van Laar's piece from Red State.
Okay.
And then we have This Is What America First Looks Like by Samuel Carter.
Two very different perspectives.
Yeah. So the goal here is to kind of figure out, what actually happened during Zelensky's visit.
Right.
And what it could mean for the U.S.-Ukraine relationship.
Yeah, because this isn't just about a meeting or an interview. This is about the future of those two countries and really the global balance of power.
It's high-stakes diplomacy, for sure.
Exactly.
So let's start with that Oval Office meeting.
Okay.
Van Laar's piece kind of gives us a front row seat to all the drama that went down.
It's pretty amazing she got that level of detail.
I know, right? And she even describes this moment where Zelensky's basically shown the door by Secretary of State Rubio.
That's got to sting a little.
Yeah, and remember, this meeting was supposed to be about a major minerals deal.
Right. A huge economic opportunity for Ukraine.
Exactly.
And it just went completely off the rails.
So Zelensky gives this interview to Bret Baier after, trying to smooth things over.
Oh,
And he starts off by thanking President Trump and the American people for their support.
interesting tactic.
Yeah, but you can kind of feel the tension simmering beneath the surface.
For sure.
Then Baier just throws this curveball question.
Oh, boy.
He's like, do you owe President Trump an apology?
Whoa.
Yeah, talk about putting someone on the spot.
Especially a world leader who's relying on U.S. aid.
Right. Zelensky tries to kind of sidestep it, saying he respects both the president and the American people.
But no apology.
Nope, not really.
So what does Van Laar say about his demeanor during all of this?
She describes him as defensive, almost defiant. He even admits that the whole public disagreement wasn't good for either side.
But then he doubles down
Oh, yeah.
on Ukraine's stance toward Russia.
Exactly. It's like he's trying to balance this gratitude for the aid with this need to stand up for his country's interests.
Yeah, you can't appear weak on the world stage, especially when you're in Zelensky's position.
And then to make things even spicier,
Okay, I'm intrigued.
we have VP Vance suggesting that some things should be discussed privately.
Ooh, behind closed doors stuff.
Right. Makes you wonder what those disagreements were really about.
Were they just personality clashes, or was there something deeper going on?
And how did that impact the minerals deal?
That's a good point, because that was supposed to be the main event,
Right.
and it got totally overshadowed by all the drama.
Zelensky even admits in the interview that the meeting was meant to be about signing that deal, but then things took a turn.
So what happened?
He implies that he felt the need to speak directly to President Trump. Like maybe there was a lack of clarity or agreement beforehand. And then he gets really emotional saying, this is so sensitive, and just a ceasefire without security guarantees. This is so sensitive for our people. I'm speaking like a president of a people who are in the struggle 3 years, and they just want to hear that America on our side and that America will stay with us, not with Russia, with us. That's it.
Wow, that's a powerful statement.
It is, right. He's appealing to empathy, reminding everyone of what's at stake for Ukraine.
But he's also kind of laying down a challenge.
Is America with us or against us?
Yeah. And that's where things get really tricky when you bring in the America First perspective.
Right, and that's what Samuel Carter's article is all about.
Let's dive into that.
Okay, so Carter's basically arguing that Zelensky might be misreading the room.
In what way?
He's suggesting that demanding aid while publicly disagreeing with the U.S. president could backfire.
That's a bold claim.
He even says that Zelensky appeared entitled and ungrateful,
Ouch.
especially given the billions in aid the U.S. has already provided.
So Carter's saying there's a right way and a wrong way to ask for help.
Yeah, and he's implying that Zelensky's not playing the game correctly.
Interesting.
But is Zelensky playing the diplomacy game wrong, or is he just fighting for his country's survival?
It's a tough question for sure.
It's like he's caught between a rock and a hard place.
And that's what makes this whole situation so fascinating.
So we've got a lot more to unpack here.
Definitely.
Stay tuned,
Honestly.
because in part 2, we're going to dig deeper into Carter's America First argument and what it means for Zelensky and really any leader seeking U.S. support in today's world.
I'm ready when you are.
All right, so we're back and things are about to get a little more complicated.
Yeah, Carter's piece isn't just about Zelensky,
Right.
It's about this bigger shift in American foreign policy.
This America First thing.
Exactly.
So break that down for me.
Okay, well, for decades, the U.S. has been like the world's problem solver.
Yeah. The superpower, the one everyone turns to for help.
Exactly. But that role is getting expensive.
Expensive how? Like financially?
Yeah, financially and also politically.
So are you saying that America's tired of being the world's police officer?
Maybe a little bit.
Okay, but what does that have to do with Zelensky and Ukraine?
Well, Carter's saying that in this America First world, allies can't just assume they'll get support.
They can't just say, hey, we're the good guys, help us out.
Right. They have to make a case for why helping them is also good for America.
So what, like strategically or something?
Exactly. He even gives some examples from history.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like after World War II, when the U.S. was giving aid through the Marshall Plan, European leaders were really effusive in their gratitude. You know,
Like how?
they renamed streets and squares after American heroes.
Oh, wow. So it's like they were making a public display of appreciation.
Exactly. And that reinforced this idea of partnership.
Okay, so is Carter saying that Zelensky needs to do a better job of selling the Ukraine story?
Kind of, yeah.
Make Americans feel like they're getting something out of it, not just giving handouts?
And that's where the whole gratitude argument comes in.
Because it's not just about being polite, it's about acknowledging the sacrifices.
Right, exactly.
But Zelensky's dealing with a war. You know,
Right.
He's trying to keep his country from being invaded. Can we really blame him for being a little demanding?
It's a tough situation, no doubt.
Right.
But Carter argues that Zelensky's approach could backfire.
Like, make America less likely to help.
Yeah.
So what's the alternative? Should he just, like, grovel for support?
No one's saying that. It's about finding the right balance,
Like,
being assertive but not abrasive, framing the relationship in a way that resonates with American voters.
like highlighting the fact that Ukraine is fighting for democracy.
Exactly.
Because that's something Americans care about.
Right. And he could also emphasize the shared threat from Russia.
Or maybe even focus on the economic potential of Ukraine, like that minerals deal.
Oh, that's a good point.
Because Van Laar actually suggests that if that deal had gone through, Zelensky could have funded some of those security guarantees himself.
Is she saying he should be more self-reliant?
Maybe.
Or is she saying he needs to show that he's willing to put skin in the game?
Yeah, it's like in any negotiation, you have more leverage if you have other options.
Right. If Zelensky can show that Ukraine's actively working towards solutions,
He might get more buy-in from the U.S.
it all comes back to that America First argument.
So it's not just about what you ask for, it's about how you ask for it.
Exactly.
Zelensky needs to play the game a little differently.
It's high-stakes diplomacy. And the stakes are only getting higher in this new world order.
So what happens next?
Well, in part 3, we're going to shift gears and look at the interview itself.
Okay.
What Zelensky actually says
Yeah.
about security, peace, and those demands he's making.
Sounds good. I'm ready when you are. All right, so we've talked about the Oval Office, and America First.
Right.
Now let's actually look at what Zelensky says to Bret Baier.
Yeah, the interview itself is really revealing.
It is.
It's like he's trying to manage everyone's expectations. The American public, the Ukrainian people, the international community, even Russia.
Wow, that's a lot to juggle.
He's walking a tightrope for sure.
So one thing he keeps saying is just and lasting peace.
That's a powerful phrase.
It is, but it's also kind of vague, right?
Yeah. What does just even mean in this context?
Yeah, and Van Laar even asks that in her piece.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, who defines what's just and how can it be lasting?
Good point.
Because for Zelensky, a just peace probably means Russia gets out of Ukraine.
Right. And he gets strong security guarantees from the West,
But to get those guarantees, he needs America's support.
which might depend on him being, better at this whole diplomacy thing.
It's a tough spot to be in.
It really is.
And then there's the issue of weapons.
Okay.
Zelensky tells Baier that Ukraine doesn't have enough firepower to push Russia out.
He's basically saying they need more help.
Yeah, and he even suggests that with enough security guarantees, Ukraine would be ready to fight.
So he's linking those two things together.
Right.
But Van Laar points out something interesting.
What's that?
She says that with the money from that minerals deal,
The one that fell apart.
yeah, Zelensky could have maybe funded some of those security guarantees himself.
Hold on, so he's asking for help with something he could have potentially done on his own.
It's a provocative point, for sure.
Makes you wonder about his strategy.
Is he being totally straight with America, or is he trying to leverage the situation?
Hard to say.
And remember, this is all happening against the backdrop of America First.
Right.
Like Carter said, allies need to show their value not just their need.
So maybe Zelensky's interview wasn't just about answering questions.
Maybe it was about sending a message
To the American people.
convincing them that supporting Ukraine is good for America.
Wow, it's like diplomacy is this whole other language.
It is. You got to read between the lines.
So what does all of this mean for our listeners?
Well, it means that the world is changing.
How so?
The U.S. isn't the only superpower anymore,
Right.
and allies like Ukraine need to adjust to that.
Diplomacy matters more than ever.
And gratitude can be a powerful tool.
Even small details like that minerals deal can have huge consequences.
Exactly. It's complicated stuff, but it's important to understand.
We hope this deep dive has given everyone something to think about.
And as you follow this story, keep asking yourself,
What role should America play in the world?
and what responsibilities do allies have in securing their own future?
Those are the big questions.
They are.
Thanks for joining us for this duck dive.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you next time.
In the heart of this nation, under skies so blue, there's a spirit that's stirring values strong and true. From the mountains to the prairies, from the cities to the sea, we stand for liberty, for faith and family. We're diving deep into the heart